Chapter 12. At what point do you imagine that the details don't matter? And at what point do you realise that indeed they do? How much do they paint the landscape in your head? How you choose to read them is entirely up to you. It was a beautiful room, provided by the love and charity of people who never feature in the landscape of a modern world. Not the people who appear on the 6 o'clock news, but people who care enough that we could be delivered into the security and support that they had provided. A very small room, modest in fact, the 2 single beds sat toe to toe, clad in a floral print that invited you into thoughts of some construct of home. Prints on the wall and a hook behind the door. There was a little bedside table where we charged the phones and I kept my reading book. She had a chair beside her bed on which to keep her medication. Under my bed sat the lead that fed my electric toothbrush. What possessed me to take it? But it was charged to the very end. The bathroom across the hall just inches away, and a kitchen whose only fault was the rules, designed only to keep it clean. No fault in that, but not a space one could call one's own. No glass of red wine with which to unwind, the rules clearly stated, and of course the ashtray was outside. It was okay, we had both been there before. Our new home had been able to offer 2 weeks of accommodation, and we were feeling very positive the next day when we headed off to the hospital. We were anxious to know exactly what was involved in participation of the trial. The doctors made it very clear the way it all worked. They were justifiably proud of the results that they had achieved to date. The melanomas in 80% of patients would shrink within a week, and in the odd case would disappear within a fortnight. A period of 10 hours was required after the first ingestion of the drug so that Julia could be monitored. Thereafter, the monitoring would take place in a 10-day cycle, which was when they would dispense the drug and record anything that may have occurred in the interim. Julia depended upon me to read the fine print so that she could make her decisions. Sounded within our reach, but there was a proviso. More testing, more scans, more proof of where her cancer was. It made her nervous, afraid that she would not pass their test. The scans and tests were outsourced in a series of appointments that we must meet armed only with our tom-tom. She was calm in the car, able to deal with any of my anxieties and to read the directions that were passed through the little wee screen. It became a rhythm of tests and my trips as she slept to fill up the larder. I had been hoping that she might feel well enough to take the train to the city, a distraction from our medical visits. Our little room did not offer a lot in the way of entertainment, but she was unable to go in that first week, and we determined that as soon as she felt able, we would make the trip. I went to visit my old school chum, whom I hadn't seen in years. She had been down a similar road with her son, not a melanoma victim, but a victim of cancer, nevertheless. She understood the frustrations of the process of treatment. Her son was alive and well, and this strengthened my belief that the trial was worth all our efforts. We made it to the city. She loved it, her face alive with the memories of all those other cities. As we stepped out of Central Station into the crowds, "I love the city," she declared, as she slowly limped to Paddy's Markets. She bought me some elephants there, moving from stall to stall, creating a little herd. The healer was fond of elephants, so she deliberated carefully about which one to choose for him. She insisted that I have a shoulder massage from the Asian practitioners and bargained with them with the skills learnt on her overseas travels. She bought a black dress after I had talked her into ignoring the expense, and a pair of boots. A little retail therapy. There was the allure of a duck dinner up the escalator in the Asian food court, and we made it. But after that she apologised because she had no more energy to use, afraid that she might be spoiling my fun. I assured her there would be another day, and she limped home. Both of us, toe to toe, through nausea and pain. And I asked about Jimmy, thinking that she would be finding the separation hard, and said she was glad that we were together, feeling unable to deal with the weight of him. She sat bolt upright in her bed the night the pain attacked her upper leg, moved to cry out in pain, to disturb my sleep, to trust that I would be there. She had been experiencing stomach pain, but this was new. It was the thigh on her right leg where the new melanoma had appeared. It was Friday the next morning, and Julia was scheduled to have a pap smear that was part of the screening process. It was the last appointment before the trial would begin, and there was a level of anxiety in the journey, both of us wanting only to get to the trial, which was due to start on the 5th of May. We rang the hospital to report the pain, and they advised that we ask while at the doctor's for pain relief. Off on another tom-tom journey to learn that the doctor found the pap smear too difficult to perform, claiming that she was dealing with lesions, a shock to us both. Julia had grown 2 more melanomas on her back and found it a painful ordeal, stressed by the unfounded complication as much as by lying on her back. Julia's request for pain relief refused, because apparently it is something the doctor did not prescribe. There was a nurse who was Julia's case manager for the trial. She had impressed us both with her compassion. She found a doctor at the hospital to deal with the pain and assured Julia that no time had been lost, because she had found another doctor to do the pap smear on the Monday, the day before the trial. Julia was soothed, her distress appeased. However, it was the first time she had been prescribed morphine, and she was disturbed by the need for it, worried about addiction and any control that the drug may have over her thinking. People came and went in the charity house, each with a sad story, but each glad of the interaction that was offered in the kitchen and the TV room. Julia responded to them all with the natural way she had of making people feel at ease. One couple had her young baby in the hospital, mistook me for the patient, assuming that Julia's smile was the indication of good health. We created names for the people who came and went, created a little world for ourselves in which we often laughed at the anomalies of human nature, as if all the residents were characters in our new world, a bond between she and I from which the outside world was excluded. We thought we had the house to ourselves on the Saturday night, an opportunity to take over the couch and the remote control in the TV lounge. So we went up to the shops to buy some treats, pleased with our good luck. A positive outcome of Brisbane that sugar had been given the all clear. Disappointed by the return of a resident, a student from the country, who was staying while doing a medical practice, we laughed nevertheless as she changed our channel and we retired to bed. There was a grotto with the statue of the Virgin Mary in the garden, a perfect place for a prayer and my mantra, a little oasis in my life. and a church just walking distance away that serviced a parish rich with immigrants and the choir fired by their enthusiasm. And a little green park just 1 block away, with swings full of children and the comings of goings of people, just enough to make the journey down the little lane worthwhile. The woman that managed the house, with its team of volunteers who came each day to clean and man the phone, knew of our situation, having followed our journey to Brisbane and back. She offered us a 3rd week of accommodation, which was against the policy of the house, that endeavoured to support as many people as possible. We would have 2 more weeks after the trial began, but the uncertainty of what arrangements we should make for our accommodation were a nagging problem. The manageress encouraged me to hold off in my pursuit for a flat, suggesting that maybe a granny flat might just become available. There was something in her advice that reassured me that it was indeed too early to make any commitments.